Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we are unboxing
Mythic Mischief.
I mean, the best abstract of all time.
It is fantastic. Yes.
We just got done doing my 7th recorded gameplay of this game.
Yep.
Your very first.
Yep.
You knew nothing about this type.
Nothing at all.
I taught you on camera.
Yes.
Played with you on camera. Yes. And gave your first impressions on camera.
I did. Which you can go check out.
Which is leading towards why we're doing this preview and overview of this. Now, I do want to make a few disclosures right at the beginning. First off, this is one of the most ridiculous care packages or prototypes that have ever been sent by a publisher, period. We have a backpack full of goodies that are branded with the game to unbox and show off. Second off, this company also brought me, Boardgame Co., Becca Scott, Monique and Naveen, Ruel, all the way down to Tennessee to spend a couple days there with IV Studios. If you swing over to their YouTube channel, they have head-to-head with some of your favorite content creators playing this, because this is a head-to-head 2, 3, and 4, well, 1, 2, 3, and 4 player tactical abstract game.
Yeah. Crazy combination right there.
They have been incredible. But that also means at the front of this, before I rave and rant about this, I have to let you know, they've been incredible. I love the studio. I love the team. I think what they're doing is remarkable, and my hat's off to them. They also have sent us what I can only imagine is hundreds of dollars of product. And so if you think that makes us biased, I hear. But now I've disclosed it all, which means take all this with a grain of salt, and if you only believe 80% of what we say about this game, that's enough for you to go back it. This is...
Or at least look at it deeper.
This is, as far as I'm concerned... Oh yeah, coming to GameFound, link in the top of this video description. Yeah, don't miss this.
This is...
Jen, one of your favorite games of all time...
Santorini.
...is Santorini.
Yes.
When we finished this...
Yes. I compared it to Santorini immediately. Like it inspired it.
Not necessarily in the way that it plays.
Yes,
but some elements of it.
The essence of it. And by the way, I didn't get any of that treatment. And
None.
When you go to my thoughts, those are like my genuine first thoughts of playing a game. So take it as you will. But yes, the first thing I did was kind of compare this to Santorini in the way that it made me feel, in the way that the player powers affected the mechanics and the puzzle that was happening on the board itself.
Yep.
It was very interactive. Everything is constantly shifting. You always have to question what's going to happen next, and you never quite know what the other person is doing, and it feels a little bit like chess sometimes too.
I have played this prototype
8
more times. No, I'm at 11 or 12.
Oh, wow.
I've recorded, I think, 7 gameplays, which are coming out on the channel. We are doing extra content on Mythic Mischief because I just...
You enjoy that
to continue playing it. It's just good. I like celebrating indie people who are doing things that are good. And with that being said...
There's a particular seal that we haven't given out in a bit.
Ooh.
Oh.
I mean, I hadn't even thought of it.
Oh, there you go.
But it 100% should be.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert, because... I hadn't even considered that being a thing, but we have a golden quack seal of approval, a little golden duck, a stamp logo thing. I don't know. If IV Games wants it, they can have it. This game's beautiful.
So let's talk about
this game by first opening up the backpack.
Really?
I mean, look at this thing. You can talk about the game while I start pulling out. They have custom logo from the Mythic Society School. They have custom pins from the Mythic Mischief school line.
People are going to click out. We want them to learn the game.
Tell them about what's going on.
So Mythic Mischief is going to be, as Jesse said, a tactical skirmish game where you are going to be a group of students trying to kind of play pranks on the school librarian in a way. You're trying and get the other students to get caught by the librarian. And the idea of the game is that whoever is able to get the other team caught the most times before the librarian ends their shift wins the game, which is going to be a total of 10 points. So throughout the game, every one of these group of students have special powers. Every faction is going to be asymmetrical in nature. They're going to have between 2 to 3 abilities that are completely different to everybody else with unique sculpts, unique storylines, etc. And the way that they interact with the board is really different. Of course, it's asymmetric. The board is composed of a series of independent walls in a very small in a very small square grid. And these walls are able to be moved around. They are bookcases. Again, we're in a library. And so the players are constantly moving these pieces around in order to control an AI character that is almost a sentry that is moving throughout the entire game.
The Tome Keeper.
The Tome Keeper. And so that Tome Keeper is trying to focus on their job. They're going to specific destinations, always moving forward. And they don't really know you're there. So you have to kind of push your other opponents. You have to throw them across things. You have to break through bookcases. You have to do anything you can think of to try and get those pieces in front of the Tome Keeper so that they're caught and you can get more points than they do. And the entire game is just that, but it's that simplicity that makes the entire experience really sing, and how those special player powers really start transforming and changing the nature of what you're doing.
Every single faction is going to have their own asymmetric powers that really do, like you're saying, manipulate the presence on the board. Now, the big thing for me, one of the reasons why this, I would argue, is probably one of the best, if not the best abstract I have played all year, which might be the title of this video. I'm still thinking through it.
That's a good one.
Is going to be the fact that on these player boards, you're controlling for every element of the game space. It's one of the things that first initially clicked for me, and I love this design choice. You're controlling your own characters on the board by moving them around. You're controlling your opponent's characters on the board through asymmetric manipulation principles, pulling, tugging, throwing, adjusting, shifting. You're controlling the walls through different asymmetric principles as well, opening them like doors, smashing them to smithereens, sliding them or teleporting them around the space. You're also controlling the Tome Keeper himself as he winds his way, putting books back on the shelf and capturing students. You can call out and have him walk in varied directions, stumbling into your opponents or your classmates in the process. And then finally, every player board as well is going to have their own special one-time or multi-time use ability, which is game-breaking in the best of ways. It's limited because you can only use it 1 or 2 times, but when you do, you might be capturing 2, 3, 4 students all at the same time, which just...
And one of the other really interesting things is that you have a tableau that you're able to slot action points into in order to get stronger and stronger abilities so that you can do more things on your turn. Is it another hoodie?
Jan. It's Mythic Mischief branded with Ivy Studios in the packaging that it...
So okay, let me
you
say this.
You might be thinking to yourself that this is an indie publishing house that is just throwing money into something. And if you know from their past games, they do the most ridiculous production and manufacturing when it comes to stuff like this. They're an art and design studio. But I'll tell you personally, because, again, we have a relationship with them, every piece of this prototype that I have in front of me...
Handcrafted?
...was hand-printed in one of the designer's bedrooms, or garages, or something like that, in his own personal house, so that he could hand-make and craft the elements that you're seeing before us. This is not production that's just mass-produced in a way that allows people to stumble across it. This is fine-tuned detail and care, and you can see it in the game design.
And one of the things that I would say about all this stuff, right, all the merch and all the things is that they're just, I think it's generally just excitement around making something that they feel really akin to.
You think Mythic Mischief branded socks is just excitement, Jan?
Oh my god. So I just think that they're excited for what they're doing and they are confident in this design, and based on what I've played, there's reason for them to do this. Like, Ivy Studios has published a series of games that have gotten acclaim across the board, but this to me is probably my favorite Ivy Studios games by far. You know, like, a lot of people loved Moonrakers, some people have tried Veil of Fate and enjoyed that quite a lot as well, but this to me really is their magnum opus thus far.
I think this is the best game they've made.
100%. 100%. Like, I love the aesthetic, I love the nature, I love the theme of the game, and I like the way that you interact with the puzzles. So to go a little bit more in depth into those mechanics. So,
Jan.
There's a... So the students are able to take these bookcases and shift them around depending on their special player powers, and like Jesse said, they're able to move people around too. Jesse, stop it with the merch. People are going to click out. They don't want the merch. The merch is for you.
Mythic Middle School. Where do you get this stuff? Who finds branded pencils?
Oh my god, okay. Look, seriously. If what we've talked so far about the game intrigues you, please just go to the Kickstarter and learn about it yourself.
GameFound, my friend.
GameFound. Go to GameFound and learn about it yourself. There is going to be enough information for you to make your own decisions on this game. I just hope that I can do my very best to just explain what that is and get you a tiny little bit excited to learn more about it.
This video, if you're a little frustrated with the chaos behind the scenes, this video was just to be excited and to show off and to celebrate. Like I said, I am producing
all the content,
a ton of content,
everything
on Mythic Mischief. It really is probably one of if not the standout game of the year so far. This year's had a lot of great games. I mean, I have some behind me. Thinking of like Scarface, which was absolutely brilliant. This game's incredible. It just really is.
Could you tell them your favorite mechanical element of Mythic Mischief?
I already have in the nature of the being able to control so many different elements of the board. The asymmetric player powers are really cool, and simple. You really do feel like you're playing as unique characters and unique factions on the board, which I, from a thematic stance, enjoy quite a lot. But if I had to boil it down or narrow it down, I would say one of the reasons I love this game so much is because I've always doubted it a little bit. When I first came down to visit, I saw the cartoony artwork and just the style of it.
I think it's incredible, but I would understand that you would not expect
but it's
it to be
Disney-esque. And so I thought to myself, maybe it won't be that great. Like, what does Ivy Studios know about creating a Disney-esque feeling game? And then I played it. And it's a bit more dark and foreboding and thematic than I assumed, and it's great. And I played it at 2 players, and I was like, this is amazing, brilliant. But that's all it is. It's just a 2-player head-to-head skirmish game, which is lovely, but it's competing with a bunch of other 2-player head-to-head skirmish games.
And then
I played it at 3-player and at 4-player. Blitz mode sets you in a timer, puts you under the wire, allows it to be player elimination. 3-player makes one person superpowered and the other 2 people working against them. It's been designed for at every level with care and detail and intricacy. And, from a selfish side of me, I want to see good people in our industry creating good things win. And I want to see them win more than any one period. It's been kind of a theme of this channel. You flash back to Townsfolk Tussle is what I'm thinking of, or Greg Favreau over at Spire's
Ratcatcher.
or Ratcatcher would be one. Honestly, a game that, while we're filming this, is still up on Kickstarter that just crossed $1 million. Flamecrafter, coming from a designer who, with Mission Catastrophe, created one of my favorite games of last year,
which I still haven't played,
and didn't honestly perform where I was hoping he would. And so I'm thrilled to see people that do good work, that care about what they make, that care about their fans and their audience and their community. I'm thrilled to see them succeed. And so the selfish part of me, the part that wants to know there's like, that if you put in the time and the effort and the work and the energy, it'll pay off, because I want that for myself. I want that so much for the people at Ivy. Because like you said, I mean, you go back, Moonrakers is great for some audiences. But it's not the,
it's not a universal one.
It's not a universal one. You get to Veiled Fate, probably one of the most high-end social deduction or strategic deduction games on the market. I love it. I'm doing work with them, creating lore and crafting extras for the community.
But it's also very niche.
But it is very niche. I don't see everyone playing it. This
could potentially, anyone can play this, and it has the potential, like the system in itself has the potential of translating into any other IP. Although I love the IP that they have right now, like Mythic Mischief, like the witches, the monsters, the trolls, the zombies, all of it is fascinating. And I think like one thing that would be important for us to cover in the video, Jesse, is to discuss who this is right for and who it's wrong for, right?
I am trying to figure out how to do a 5 reasons not to back. They've given me permission to do that. The hard part is there's so little to critique outside of just things that the game isn't. The game is not a giant Euro. The game is not overly thematic. It's an asymmetric puzzle that plays really well at 2, 3, and 4, and they're going to have a solo mode. The biggest area of concern that I could give people would be the potential for AP. The action paralysis, the getting stuck trying to do the math of the sequence, and the opportunity for long turns and slow play because there's just a lot to figure out. it's really heightened, and there's not a good way to lessen it in this game.
And I think with more times that you play, the analysis paralysis is going to go down. But this is definitely one of their lengthier abstracts, and you would be surprised.
Abstract. It's a surprisingly heavy abstract.
With this tiny board, you think that this would be done in like 15 to 20 minutes, but because the way that everything is moving
to an hour comfortably,
because these pieces are so important. This is essentially a maze that you're looking at here, the top shot. This is a rat maze, and the way that you control this character throughout it can be there's so many different ways of manipulating with that. And the other element that I would probably mention about this particular game is I completely forgot about it. I had it in the top of my head.
We're talking about the rat maze. We're talking about AP. We're talking about concerns for people and who would be right and wrong for.
Yes.
You were leaning into the fact that it's probably a 45 to 60-minute game, and I was touching on the fact that there's not a lot to critique outside of the just nature of it not being.
I just think I got affected by the magical nature of the students. They played the trick on me like they play on the Tomekeeper.
I did my best to remind you.
Oh my gosh. I had a good point to bring up, and now I don't have it anymore.
So, all that being said, listen, if you've watched to this point, or you cut out in the beginning, or you
it makes a lot of sense if they would cut out in the beginning.
Here's my honest take. Believe me or not, we're clearly biased. I love the people at Ivy Studios. I've enjoyed working with them. I am biased in favor of indie designers doing really cool things. I also am biased because I've had great experiences playing this game with a lot of great people. But if you don't believe me that this game, for what it's doing, is incredible, and you don't believe him, and you don't believe Alex, and you don't believe Monique or Naveen, and you don't believe Ruel, and you don't believe Becca Scott, well, at a certain point, you're wrong. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a ton of content here. Like, at the end of the day,
it's a celebration.
If you're not convinced, I have 5+ gameplay videos coming out. Spend however much time you need watching
Just
them.
make your own decisions.
We'll see you next time. Whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing.
And tease the Tomekeeper.
Follow this on GameFound.
That's do that.
Definitely what it is. We'll see you next time. Thanks.